Cubs lose 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox, and Jordan Wicks hits the IL. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to get started. Well, we're going to preview the last series of what is the first part of this first 32 games, Cubs-Mets, later in the show. We'll recap Cubs-Red Sox as the Cubs lose 2 out of 3 in Fenway, despite a nice win Friday and a good battle on Sunday. But it is Jordan Wicks going to the IL as there's another injury to report, as Wicks was placed on the 15-day IL on Sunday with a left forearm strain. Wicks told reporters before Sunday's game he was pretty optimistic, and he's had some lingering soreness since his last start. But this is another strain on the rotation, pun intended, Sam, as the Northsiders will need to put up the help wanted sign for a starting pitcher yet again.
Yeah. I think this injury, probably the Cubs knew about it for quite like a little bit before, which is why Counsell managed Saturday's game like he did. And then it just became public, obviously, when they scratched him before the day before the game and threw Wisniewski. It's hard right now to not, like, I find myself after Saturday's game and even Sunday's game, and this is connecting to Wicks, just not overly upset with these losses because of these injuries, and they just keep piling up.
Yeah.
And I don't want to become a broken record every time they lose and go, well, they're injured, this is going to happen, because obviously these are paid professionals that have to go out there and perform,
and they've won a lot.
But it's just, this is a young man who is really starting to throw the ball well. I thought you could make the case outside of his major league debut. You could make the case the best start he had was against Houston his last times out.
Yes, I agree.
He was really, really good. And
I thought he turned a corner.
Yeah. And when you hear forearm, obviously you get nervous about the E word when it comes to pitchers. Elbow is what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
You have to think about that. But it is good news, and like you said over text today, we did have a steal situation like this last year. So hopefully it's a minimum stay. They have no reason to not IL him at this point, because he can, if he misses 2 starts, it's not the end of the world. Make sure that he's okay. But in the short term, you look at it now. So now you got Tyone back. You have Steele hopefully coming back soon. Hendricks is out due to basically performance reasons. So right now it's Assad, it's Tyone, it's Imanaga, and then Ben Brown. And then it's kind of, what are you going to do with that 5th spot? Smiley's on the IL. Hendricks is on the IL. And now Wicks is on the IL. I actually thought Wisniewski threw the ball really well on Sunday and probably should have not given up a run. But I still don't really trust him as a starter in this league. Maybe they do a piggyback situation with him where he's the 3-4 inning bulk guy. But that, every 5th day, having to, go 3-4 innings with a pitcher, puts a lot of strain on your bullpen. But, for me, the results of the Wicks thing it's just more of the same. First, you feel bad for the guy because he's starting to turn a corner. And then you just start wondering, like, how many more of these can this team take? It's just becoming ridiculous.
Yeah, Wicks went 6 innings of 2-run ball in his most recent start against the Astros, and we all were really, really happy about that. I don't know if you attribute this to anything, but I suppose it is a part of the discussion about his fastball is being thrown harder, slider usage increased.
Yeah.
I don't know if this absence is as bad as we think, just because if it is only, well, if you include Sunday, 3 times through the rotation, I think it is likely to be survivable. However,
Oh yeah.
Wicks was supposed to start Sunday. He was supposed to lead off the Brewers series,
Yep.
and then he was supposed to close the Padres series, which finishes the stretch of 16-16.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to manage all these open spots. And if you continue to have pitchers who don't go into the 6th inning, who don't go into the 5th inning, then the bullpen does suffer the consequences. Imanaga on Friday was the first Cubs pitcher all year to pitch into the 7th. You talk about Wisniewski. He started Sunday. My guess is he starts Friday too, but maybe they do get creative with it, whether it is a bullpen game, whether it is Thomas Pannone getting swapped out for Colton Brewer or something like that. But there's options here that could be worth exploring, even if it's just 2 more times through the rotation. And the wild card here is that maybe it really is only the Friday game, because Justin Steele made his first rehab start last week in extended spring and is scheduled to make a second rehab start Wednesday, this time for AAA Iowa. And so if he doesn't need to make a third rehab start, that means he would pitch.
Against the Padres, yeah.
What would that be, May 6th or May 7th? So
Wow.
you might only need that Friday leadoff game against the Brewers that's really in the in-between. So I like the question of who's going to replace Wicks, but also it might not be as serious as even I realized it. And Marquis, even before Sunday's game, Sam, also dropped, and I don't know if this is informed speculation or they just wanted to be thorough, but they also even dropped Hendricks and Smiley's names in there as a possible combo of players who could return in the next 2 weeks. So I guess reinforcements are on the way, but something to keep an eye on. And I just hope Wicks gets better, because it looked like he turned a corner, and I really enjoy watching him pitch.
Yeah, I think it's just if he's back in 2, 3, 4 weeks and he avoided serious injury, that's the win here individually.
Yes,
we're just speaking of as a group with the team. It's just
it doesn't end.
It's not just Wicks. It's not just Bellinger. It's not just
going.
Suzuki. It's not just Merriweather. And there was some good news with Steele, and there was some good news with Bellinger.
Yeah.
This weekend, about maybe coming back sooner, but it's tough, and you see it out there today. Like Mike Talkman had a huge hit today. Like Mike Talkman right now is the guy on this team right now. He's hitting the best, because some other guys, that are that are getting paid a lot of money, and that play left field and stuff, just kind of they never step up. But you just have to keep treading water.
You can't help yourself. Huh?
No, I can't. I'm sorry.
What was that? Treading water?
Yeah, treading water. This is water, despite the label. And you just keep on chugging along, but you just want to see this team healthy, because you think there's a really good team in there.
Yes.
And it's going to be frustrating having to play the Brewers at Wrigley. Basically, probably the most depleted we'll be all year.
Yeah, I do think it looks like they're going to avoid Freddie Peralta, if you want to take any solace in that.
You already looked into it, didn't you?
Yeah. One more thing for this segment, Sam.
People say I'm weird, man.
Let me read you this pitcher's line. And is he at least due for a promotion at AAA, if not, part of the conversation sooner than later?
It's going to be Cade Horton, isn't it?
16 1/3 innings, 13 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 18 strikeouts. That is Cade Horton. Jed Hoyer is in the room this weekend. Is like, hey, should we try it?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, even if it's just a 90-second conversation, this dude is lights out for the most part. You got to be thinking the ladder is in front of him soon, at least to Des Moines.
He's coming up at some point, man.
Okay. So you think so?
I don't know if it's going to be this week.
Right. Well, in a Friday 120 game against the Brewers, probably not ideal for a debut.
Or it is,
Would
depending
be
on what type.
electric, bro.
Yeah, or depending on what type of young man you're talking about. But yeah, I don't know about that. But if he keeps pitching like this, he will be part of the cavalry that will be coming.
I like that. All right. Well,
But I am a little concerned, since I, really spoke highly about Matt Shaw. I don't think he has a base hit.
yeah. All right. Well,
And then on our subscribe show, I talked about how bad the Sox are, and they swept this weekend.
Yeah, they doubled their win total.
So I'm not having a great weekend on that front.
Bears had a great draft over the weekend, though. Again,
Who?
The Bears finished their draft really strong.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Coming up next, Cubs, Red Sox. They do lose 2 out of 3 in Fenway. Let's get to it. Today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. This Mother's Day, get something thoughtful for mom. Surprise her from wherever you are with fresh bouquets, the latest tech, gift cards, self-care treats, and more to make her day that much better with DoorDash. Pair flowers with a gift card so she can celebrate any way she wants. Is she a bookworm? Try a bookstore gift card. Does she love a good latte? Get a gift card to her favorite coffee shop. You can't go wrong. Get thoughtful gifts she deserves with the convenience you need. Choose same-day delivery or schedule a week ahead for when flowers and gifts should arrive to her door with DoorDash. Get all your Mother's Day gifts all in one place and get 50% off your next order. That's right, half off, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flowers, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with code LOCKEDONMLB. Terms do apply. That's Locked On MLB to order using DoorDash today.
Today's episode is also brought to you by Monopoly Go. We've all been there. I'm there right now, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, so low. Not sure you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball and charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the Apple or Google Play Store.
The Cubs play the Mets at 6:10 p.m. Central, my favorite start time, Monday, and you can hear every pitch of the Cubs' hometown broadcast on SiriusXM by searching Cubs on the SXM app. 7-1 win Friday, 17-0 loss Saturday, and a 5-4 loss Sunday to the Red Sox. Cubs dropped the series, now 17-11 overall. We are going to go back to front. We're going to try that this time, Sam. Red Sox led the entire game Sunday until Mike Tauchman hit a 3-run homer in the top of the 8th to tie it 4-4, but the Red Sox did win in the bottom of the 9th. Wisniewski, 4 innings. A Sunday call-up, Richard Lovelady, what a name, went 1 inning. Yency Almonte got hit hard in his 1 inning. Daniel Palencia went 2 as he got called up Sunday as well. And Mark Leiter Jr. got 0-2 to Duran to lead off the 9th, but walked him. And Rafael Devers followed that up with a single, and Tyler O'Neill blooped a single in short left field to win it for the Red Sox. What do we have on Sunday's game? Because I was getting other titles and thumbnails and things ready. The Cubs are proving they're battle tested, especially when it in the Mike Tauchman department, as we know, but they just fell short.
Yeah, it was one of those games where by inning 6, it was a loss, and then they got you hooked in, so then the loss hurt a little bit more.
Yeah.
But to me, the irritating part of this game, it was just one of those games where there's just nothing. You didn't get it many breaks. The first run of the game comes from Michael Busch making a mistake, getting in Nico Horner's way, and then getting squeezed later on in that inning. The second run comes where the ESPN cameras couldn't even foul the ball, and it hit off the third base bag. that was a cheap run. Houck was good. And then, Talkman gets the big hit. And then, like you said, to me, the at-bat in the ninth inning, going 0-2 to 4-2 to a speedster like Duran. It's just one of those reasons why I wish we could just – and I love Mark Leiter Jr., and he's been great this year as his first bad outing. But I just wish we had a true lefty to get lefties out. And we talked about Luke Little. He was sent down again because he doesn't know where the ball's going. Because with Leiter, either – if he doesn't have his splitter, which he didn't have a great today, and this both happened, or the lefty starts to pick it up, in this case, Duran, he's just kind of, that's his only option,
Right.
And it would just be nice, Lovelady's up now. We'll see how he pitches. It would just be nice to have a true lefty you could put in those spots, because once Duran drew the base sound balls, I think everybody was like, we're going to need a lucky double play from Devers or something like that. But, Saturday's game, 17-0. I don't really
football score.
Yeah, I don't really think I think that's just the flush it game. Just one of those games you just move on from. And then Friday's game was one of the better performances of the season for the Cubs.
It was great.
My weekend takeaway is, definitely don't ever want to lose a series, especially after you win game one. But, like I said, I can't be overly angry. I think, you gotta leave that there and start fresh in Queens. So, every game right now just feels like a steal. Like even Friday, the Cubs played great. Felt like, hey, we had Shota on the mound. We hit really well. We kind of, hey, that was one more in the bank. And then we got blown out Saturday, and Sunday felt like, hey, if we could get to the 10th inning with PCA, maybe we'll steal this one. And it's just, we're in that mode right now until we get our guys back and we just start blowing out teams, left and right. So, I'd like to say, hopefully this week the Cubs need to get a little bit more from some guys like Ian Happ and Christopher Morel and
Definitely.
company like that, because, when you're missing these guys, I'm looking at the box score today, 7 for 34 with 12 strikeouts. Only multi-hit game was from Talkman. Ian Happ's hitting 229. Christopher Morel's hitting 210 in the middle of your order. You need those guys. Dansby Swanson's hitting 238. Matt Mervis, 133. Nick Madrigal, 219. These guys got to start hitting. And the last thing I'll say is I'd like to give a shout out to Pete Crow Armstrong, because
what did he finish on Sunday? 1 for
3, but the at bats. Okay. It really seems like after that home run, he looks a lot more comfortable. He's putting the ball in play. This is somebody that, originally on our show, we both were just head over heels with. And then it started to get, I think we've even publicly said the last couple times out, it's just starting to have some slight concerns with what was happening in AAA. And one weekend doesn't change any of that, but to see him have success at the big league level, I think for him mentally, as big as anything's huge. And the Cubs need him right now. They need him to play center. And like I said, his at-bats look this weekend, they look comfortable to me. They look like comfortable ABs.
Yeah, he's 4 for 9 this weekend, then, including that, or in addition to 4 for 9, a sack bunt RBI, a squeeze play on Friday night.
And he would have been bunting in the 10th, I bet you.
Yeah, I could imagine bunt for a hit.
And then a throwaway around the right field line, one of those guys.
Well, so he's the everyday center fielder against righties. Counsell made that clear this weekend.
He looks comfortable now.
I think that's clear right now. There's no way Canario should be starting against righties at this point. Yeah. Mike Talkman, I think a larger convo or celebration on him for an episode this week is appropriate. And for Friday's game, Sam, so Saturday, Ben Brown, I can read his line, but he's starting again.
He wasn't that bad. He made a bad pitch to O'Neill.
He's starting again Thursday, so I'm excited for that. Imanaga, 6 1/3 on Friday. He has established himself, him and Javier Assad, the last men standing now from the opening day rotation.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Imanaga has established himself as the anchor of the Cubs rotation in the absence of all these dudes. 0.98 ERA in his first 27 innings. And Keegan Thompson went the last 2 2/3 Friday. He's now up to 9 2/3 scoreless frames to begin his year. But as you would look forward to Queens, Sam, Happ, Morel, Swanson, to an extent, what is their production across these 4 games going to be like? Curious to see the path to victory after starters in the pen. I think I read, first of all, Daniel Palencia was hit 99 twice on Sunday,
I thought he even hit 100 once.
and his movement was better. Yeah, he may have. He
No,
was
yeah,
he was
he pitched
sitting
well.
97, 98.
Let's see him put it together, the 5, 6, 7, 8 type
And then
outing.
did I read that right? Richard Lovelady, 20 strikeouts and 1 walk so far this year at AAA. He's just given up a lot of hits.
Yeah, I didn't read that, so I don't know if you read it right.
I think
but
I saw that.
one thing too, I want to say about this weekend and going into Queens,
Yeah.
I think the Cubs got to do a little bit better job defensively, because
They really do.
with Suzuki and Bellinger out, you just have a little bit smaller of a margin of error. And so, because and I'm not playing this game, but I'm just saying, if you clean up maybe the Michael Busch thing today, who knows what the result of the game is? You got it, because it just first, second inning when you got Suzuki hitting and Bellinger hitting and Morel hitting, when you're struggling as a team a little bit offensively, and they really aren't. I mean, they just had a great game on Friday, but I just read you the averages, right? Which is a great sign. Which is a great sign, by the way, because some of these averages are going to improve. But when you have some of your main guys slumping around, you have less margin of error. So you got to make the plays you're supposed to make. Even that play, and it was a really hard play for Dansby Swanson, but that's a play that I've seen him make before at the end of that game. And I don't know why Ian Happ was playing against the monster with nobody out and a man on third. If someone hits the ball straight to you, the game's over, Ian.
Yeah, that was very 3 more things from this weekend.
3.
Madrigal pinch hit for Mervis with 1 out, nobody on at the top of the 9th. I thought that was strange.
Odd.
And then Mervis himself really just
not there, right?
No, not much from him. I think this road trip might be it for him.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say, maybe about 3 or 4 more ball games.
Yeah, well, it's hard. I think he knows that, and I think he's pressing a bit. He's got to get the ball into the air. He's just hitting ground balls to the right side.
Yeah.
I think Madrigal got the pinch hit for him because Jansen with the cutter is just so much tougher typically on lefties than righties. But with Madrigal, it's just like it's best save him for a spot where a single actually matters.
Right.
And
future Cub Kenley Jansen, he looked good, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I think overall this isn't a rah-rah loss, 2 out of 3 or 17-11. Everyone else in the division lost on Sunday. So come out on Monday and let's preview the series against the Metropolitans, who had a dramatic win on Sunday.
And Sunday night baseball isn't what it used to be, Sam.
Isn't what it used to be. It's not. It's whatever it used to be. It's the opposite of that. It's a terrible production. They have Ravitch, Cone, and Perez. They do the baseball tonight. The ESPN's got no more money.
And Ravitch has been in the play-by-play chair, 5 years now?
Is it that long? He's not good enough. He's a studio host.
I remember him from Baseball Tonight as a kid, which, by the way, as a kid in middle school, high school,
John Miller and Joe Morgan, dude.
I would watch every Sunday, man.
It was
every Sunday night in the spring and summer. It was an event.
It was appointment TV to watch John Miller and Joe Morgan call ball.
Even Dan Schulman.
And then it went to Dan Schulman and A-Rod, which was a step down, but not that far because Dan Schulman's a Hall of Fame broadcaster. You can catch him doing college ball and the play-by-play for the Blue Jays.
Yes.
And then they've gone to Ravitch, and now it's just, you know what?
It's putrid.
But it's
putrid.
It's like an on-air podcast. It's not.
No, it's not even a podcast.
They don't even talk about the game.
It's like a webinar.
No, I didn't like it at all. And if you're gonna have a broadcast between two of, I would say, the Mount Rushmore franchises in baseball, please know where the cameras are at all times. I'd like to see where ground balls go.
Well, and that used to be one thing that ESPN always did well, was the look of the game.
It looks terrible.
It was bad, yeah.
And they had the audio. My mom was startled by the strike call. The umpire was so loud. They had the mic'd up. This isn't a Michael Jackson show. We don't need to hear him every 2 seconds. It's not the Beatles. He's an umpire. Jeez.
Let's preview Cubs Mets.
Terrible production.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 and $50 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to homers to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. Sam,
Yes.
how's Jalen Brunson and the Knicks doing NBA playoffs?
My high school countermate, Jalen Brunson, went to high school with him. He had 47 points and 10 assists on Sunday afternoon, and the Knicks go back to the Garden leading 3-1. I was laughed at for saying that he's a better Knick than Carmelo Anthony. Who's laughing now? Go ahead.
Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, official partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Cubs begin a 4-game series with the Mets on Monday. These 4 games will close out the first section of the season. This first 32 games. Wow. Tyone and Severino, Assad and Imanaga and Budo, Brown and Hauser, 6-10 Central, first 3 games. The old matinee, 12-10 Central on Thursday. Mets are 14-13 on the campaign, but did recently win 6 in a row. It'd be nice to avoid 3 straight L's Monday, Sam. Severino is really the only pitcher this series that gives me any pause.
Yeah, I think he's with Senga out, I think he's probably their best pitcher.
And he's pitching well too.
Yeah. Quintana threw well on Sunday. Yeah, the Mets are an interesting team. They're one of those teams that kind of remind me a little bit of the 2021 Cubs, where they had some guys, remember the Cubs flirted with the division lead during May and June that year. And then they kind of plummeted before the deadline because, everything's, hey, are you going to re-sign Alonso? Now the Mets wouldn't go into a rebuild because they have so much, their owner has a lot of money. But they have a lot of talented players. Lindor is not hitting right now. Pete Alonso is a Cub killer. Harrison Bader, watch out for him, Cub killer. I believe their catcher, Francisco Alvarez, is out for a while. He hurt his thumb for months. Diaz in the pen. But like you said, not super overwhelming starters. I don't think the Mets are better than the Cubs, but I think this version of the Cubs, I think, you start and end with a split. You start and end with a split going into Queens. I think last year, later in the year, we lost 2 of 3 in New York. It's always tough to win on the road. They're good. The guy you can't get beat by Alonso. He always beats us, and you got to be careful to him.
Yeah,
and
polar bear.
Yeah, McNeil's not hitting. Nimmo's off to a slow start.
Right, don't let these guys heat up.
Yeah, don't let them heat up. And
it's going to be a long week out there.
Yeah, hopefully we could. I agree. It'd be nice. I don't want to hit a 3-game. Have we had a 3-game? I don't think we have a 3-game losing streak yet this year.
No.
So I'd like to avoid that.
Yeah. And
great. Now if we lose, everybody's going to blame me for saying that. Here we go.
No, I don't. I think it's
there we go. Always negative. And by the way, I'd like to make public, if your father's listening, Nick told me that he called me out in the group chat for always being negative. And I just want to say
I reprimanded him for that.
Oh, yeah. I've been really positive, dude. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Everyone's always on me. You should see these people on Twitter the other day.
I sent a very heated text to my dad about that.
On Sunday, somebody tweeted at me and goes, "Hey, game's over. Hopefully we can get the game Monday." I tweeted back. I said, "It's 1-0 in the second. We got a lot of game left. We could come back. We could come back and tie this game." And we did, but we ended up losing. Listen, I know
I've noticed some negativity around Cubs universe lately.
I know I'm not Ronald Reagan, but I think I'm really proud of his team. I'm not. The only time I'm melting down is when
Go Cubs.
Forgive me if we got an 8-0 lead in the 6th that I get upset if we lose.
Go Cubs.
The NBA playoffs have been boring.
Imagine if the Cubs return to Wrigley 19-13.
What would
that would be +3 of what we said. We said
that'd be if they split.
16. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
19-13?
And then
I thought there was no way, man.
Well, and what's crazy is, a
Cubs.
split. you really would have a fun time. That's going to be a fun weekend against the Brew
I
Crew
know
next
it
weekend.
is. It's gonna be big, dude.
You know what? I'm disappointed in myself for not already looking ahead to seeing those pitching matchups.
Oh, that's
But
your fault, man.
But really, besides Peralta, they're not even any good. I mean, they gave up 30 runs in 48 hours this week.
No, I think they're starting to trend down.
That'd be great. Do you know who they played before us?
I do not. So thank you so much I should know that.
Well, here's the beauty of it. I'm going to know in about 2 seconds.
I think the Padres.
It's going to be the Milwaukee Brewers hosting the scuffling Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh, the Rays. Wow. Yeah.
They've been horrible. They got swept over on 35th.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. And if you want more Matt and Sam, consider supporting us by subscribing to our Unlocked podcast. The link to subscribe is in this episode description. Monday episodes are always packed. Let's see what the Cubs can do in Queens against the Mets.
Love you, Frank Cozy.
I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.
Go Cubs.